First, Bangladesh writes to India seeking Hasina's extradition. What does it mean? Yeah. So extradition means if consider a treaty, there should be for the success of this extradition process, there should be an extradition treaty between two countries. Say country A and country B. Now, one person from country B is living in country A. And now this country B means citizen of country B. This country B is requesting country A that you need to surrender that person X to our country. Now, how come this happened? We are sovereign, right? We are sovereign. If they are asking, why should we give? So, to make this process suitable and comfortable, we had signed some treaties called extradition treaty. We had extradition treaty with different countries. So, both the countries who are having extradition treaties and one of them asks for surrender of person X, then obviously other country must submit. For example, we have Vijay Mallya in UK, na? Yeah, he's in UK. We are having extradition treaty also, right? They are not giving because after all, we are sovereign. Kada. Same is the case here. Whether to submit here or not will be in the hands of India. But just for smooth functioning of the process, we had these treaties. Okay. Now you know the backstory about Bangladesh, why Hasina came here and all. Right. UN loan, maximum what we can do, we can complain in UN. Is UN is working properly? Okay. Next. Domestic needs have to be prioritized. Same page. On National Consumers Day, the Union Food and Consumer Affairs Ministry will launch Jago Grahak Jago app. Now, National Consumers Day. When is it? December 4 or 3? 4. National Consumer Day on December 24. Why it is on December 24? We are having some specific statutory law supporting consumer rights. What is it? Consumer Protection Act 1986. This was amended after many years. Consumer Protection Act 2019. Now, on December 24th of 1986, this act has enacted by the country. That's why we are celebrating December 24th as National Consumers Day. Okay? Enduku vachindi National Consumers Day on that day? On that day, first legislation on consumer protection came into force. Now, why this is essential? Not this National Consumers Day. Generally, why consumer rights are essential? Now, say, normally, whether normal people like us, normal people like us can fight with giants like Amazon, Flipkart and all. Obviously, it will be very difficult to fight with Reliance and all. So, it is very difficult thing. So, earlier we used to have an act called MRTP. Do you know this? Enti the MRTP ante Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. MRTP Act. This is MRTP Act. MRTP Act basically Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. Before pre-1991, there is a scenario where excessive regulation, industries, basically we are in socialistic pattern, everything will be decided by our state. So there are some regressive laws at that time. Those are the reasons for lack of growth in our industries. One of that is MRTP Act, Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. This says that, for example, take a case, steel. How much steel should be produced? How much rate it should sell? Everything will be decided by the government. If a company wants to increase its production to some 5,000 tons or 10,000 tons, it is not at all possible. Even for increasing the production, it must take permission from the government. But why this is there? And also we are having many restrictions with respect to FDI. There is no FPI at all. All this is before 1991. Next, high amount of taxation, non-easy availability of credit. All these led to the hindering in the growth of industrial sector in the country. Now, one of the major reason is MRTP. Now, MRTP Act is not there. This was replaced by Competition Commission Act 2002. Now, MRTP has been brought by the government. They told that we want to have a check on the competition, and also their idea is such an illogical thing, like they says that there is a lot of inequality in the country. So, if we are giving free hand to the industries, inequality will be further increasing. So, inequality shouldn't increase. That's why we are keeping restrictions. Obviously, illogical thing. That's why there is relatively less growth in the industrial sector. Later on, Government of India realized post 1991 reforms post 1991 reforms and made a number of changes. And among these, one of the major changes shifting from MRTP to CCI and FERA to FEMA. Right? You will be learning most about this in 1991 LPG reforms. అప్పుడు చూస్తారు. అయితే all these will be coming under liberalization. Means it is liberalizing the trade process in the country kada. Easy entry, easy exit and all. So in liberalization you will be learning all these things. Now why I told about this is, initially I am telling that Consumer Protection Act came in first time 1986 kada. Then before that we became independent in 1947. So before that, in this MRTP Act we used to have separate clause for consumer rights, but not any clear cut mentioning. So later on what happened, because of many trade practices, ill practices and false practices by the companies, government, and it became a social movement actually. Means people came on the roads to have this consumer awareness and all. Now because of that, government, it became imperative on the government to make this Consumer Protection Act 1986. Okay. Now this act has been again amended. It has been amended many times, but the recent amendment, which is a flagship amendment on Consumer Protection Act 2019. Right. Now this could be one of the important thing in this year prelims actually. Lot of work created around it. Now you need to know what are the changes here. Consumer Protection Act 2019. Majorly, in 1986 thing, there is no restriction on e-commerce, because obviously they might have not thought about any e-commerce in 1986 kada. Right? Now any company which will be coming under this jurisdiction includes e-commerce also. Okay, obviously kada adi. Next thing, earlier there is no clear cut punishment on persons who are acting as brand ambassadors if there is any false promises from them. For example, Amitabh Bachchan, Dhoni and all, they are acting as brand ambassadors to different things. Now they are not caring about the real utility of that, whether the claims are genuine or not. Right? For example, Horlicks makes taller, stronger, sharper. Boost Horlicks makes taller, stronger, sharper. Now whether while accepting that ad, any these cricket personalities or any movie personalities might have not checked that. Now what happened with this? They will be liable for that. If any personality acts as brand ambassadors, he needs to double check the provisions. Then only he can act as brand ambassador. And even after that, if there is any wrong thing being published in that ad, they will be liable. Recently in this 2019 only, Dhoni and Amitabh Bachchan were called for supporting one real estate company, and that real estate company wiped off. And another thing about Mahadev betting scam, in this Ranbir Kapoor, all of them were also questioned. Right? Next, further changes, it had created some 3-tier structure. Central Consumer Protection Authority, there are State Consumer Protection Authority, District Consumer Protection Authority, and also fines were also increased. Okay, these are the different major changes happened in Consumer Protection Act. And directly in GS2 they can ask a question about Consumer Protection Authority. Okay, changes with respect to 1986 and 2019. Okay, because in GS2 we have separate topic called statutory bodies and all. Now this Consumer Protection Authority also comes under statutory body. ఇది ఎందుకంటే generally they used to ask questions only about important bodies like CIC and all, National Commission for Women. But last year they had asked a question about the Competition Commission of India that no one had accepted. Right? In the same way they might ask about this because it is heavily in use. Central Consumer Protection Authority and Consumer Protection Act 2019. Kashmiri artisans give wings to the dodo. What is this dodo? Yeah, this is a bird. Majorly it used to be stay in Kashmir and in that area. It became extinct in 1681. Now this is the first evidence where a clear-cut human actions are the responsible for its extinction. See, for death of any animals or extinction of any animals, what is the necessary thing? Their habitat must be destructed, isn't it? Now why many sort of elephants are coming on the roads and all? Majorly they used to have clear-cut passes for getting water and all. Now in between, now highways are being constructed. Their habitat is being separated. Now obviously they do not have other option, but then it will lead to a scenario of man-animal conflict. Similarly, we are constructing railways in between. They didn't come to us. We are going towards them. Okay. Biryani stays top of charts as India's favorite dish. habitat means, for example, I am living somewhere near Jubilee Hills anukondi. Jubilee Hills will become my habitat. The area which I am living is called as habitat. Ecosystem will also include the species. For example, forest ecosystem. Forest ecosystem includes those large trees, animals over there, wild animals, any birds and all. Ecosystem will be looking in a very broad manner. Okay. Now, habitat for a specific person is, your habitat is your home, right? Or else Andhra or Telangana. Broadga cheppalandi. Difference అయితే ఉంది. మీకు ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ కూడా స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది కదా, ఫుల్ క్లియర్గా క్లారిటీ వస్తుందండి. ఎకోసిస్టమ్ ఈజ్ డిఫరెంట్, ఎకాలజీ ఈజ్ డిఫరెంట్. ఇండియా స్టీల్ ఫ్రేమ్ does need a check. Who is this steel frame? Yeah, civil services. So basically, you are probable steel frame for tomorrow. Now, this article majorly says that simply ఈ స్టీల్ ఫ్రేమ్కి తుప్పు పట్టింది అని. స్టీల్ ఫ్రేమ్ గాట్ రస్టెడ్, అంతే కదా. ఇండియన్ స్టీల్ ఫ్రేమ్ గాట్ రస్ట్. Who coined this word steel frame? Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now, India steel frame does need a check. Leaving aside all these things, మీకు ఆ టాపిక్ ఎలానో అయింది కాబట్టి, tell me about major issues in the civil services, or else why reforms are needed in the civil services. Why reforms are essential in the civil services? Corruption, red tapeism. Next, elitist mindset. Elitist mindset means thinking to the top only, not getting mingled with the deprived sections. Basically, civil service. In the name itself, there is idea of service. Civil services. No, they had been made as bureaucrats for giving service to the people, for giving welfare to the people. Now, civil services pre-independence and post-independence are not the same. Pre-independence, civil services and bureaucracy used to work in a police state. In police state, welfare is a last thing. But post-independence, India became a welfare state. In welfare state, service is the major thing. Police state ante capitalist state anta kada appudu. Police state means state will care only about security, law and order, but it doesn't care anything about the pensions or anything, social security. Now, welfare state means it thinks about the problems of the people. Your state becomes father, mother, nanny, everything of, yes, father, mother, nanny, everything of the citizens. Major criticism by liberals to this socialist state is that people in the socialist state want states to become nanny for them, to help them from womb to tomb. కడుపులో ఉన్నప్పటి నుండి చనిపోయే వరకు ప్రతి దానికి వాళ్ళకి మనీ ఇవ్వాలని కోరుకుంటారని చెప్పి జనరల్గా లిబరల్స్ క్రిటిసైజ్ చేస్తారు. నౌ, ఫర్ ద డెవలప్మెంట్ ప్యాటర్న్, సివిల్ సర్వీసెస్ ఆర్ ద మేజర్ థింగ్. వై? బికాస్ దే ఆర్ పర్మనెంట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్. Even one temporary executive are being changed every 5 years. These are the implementation links. These maintain continuity in the administration, isn't it? These maintain continuity in the administration. But even after this, we are facing many problems. We might have seen in many cases in newspapers about their corruption. It takes a long process to get permissions or even get appointment of some civil servants. Red tapeism in it. Next, elitist mindset. People are not ready to discuss with the lower people, and further not ready to get changed. That is, many types of changes are happening in the country, technological thing, but civil servants who have been recruited in past 15 to 20 years are not getting changed with this, and also they do not have bureaucratic mindset, and they do not have the developmental attitude. They are always living with this psyche of high-headedness. See, I am not using all these words, and of course I won't be using even if I have to, because we are probable civil servants. All these words have been used by second ARC. Okay, high-headedness and all, and it uses very, very difficult words even to pronounce. చెప్పలేనని కాదు, చెప్తే మనసు ఇబ్బంది పడుతుంది కాబట్టి they will be using these sort of words. Okay, next, any more issues? It is very much difficult to suspend an IAS officer, that is to dismiss or make him completely removed from a service, because Article 312 doesn't allow this. Article 312 requires very great sanction on them. Next, bureaucratic politicians nexus. Bureaucracy politicians nexus. Here criminals also enter. So bureaucracy, politicians and criminals nexus. This will lead to syndicates, corruption, and which further lead to lack of meritocracy. Now, nepotism, favoritism will be coming here. Nepotism and favoritism will be coming here. They will be given because civil servants have high amount of discretion compared to MLAs or MPs. They will be having some funds at their disposal, and they can appoint some members as some computer assistants, or they can have they can call for global tenders and all. There they are showing some nepotism and all. So there are many more problems also. But to solve all these things, government had formed different commissions. Tell me some commissions. Okay. Hota committee. విన్నారా కమిటీస్? ఆ క్వశ్చన్ వచ్చినప్పుడు పక్కగా ఇవి కోట్ చేయండి. హోతా కమిటీ, సురేంద్రనాథ్ కమిటీ, అలగ్ కమిటీ, హోతా కమిటీ, సురేంద్రనాథ్ కమిటీ, అలగ్ కమిటీ, సమ్ రికమెండేషన్స్ ఆఫ్ సెకండ్ ARC. Now, many of their recommendations majorly point about the things which we had discussed. They had identified those mistakes and they had suggested some reforms also. Now, their reforms will be in such a manner that many of the things have been implemented in Mission Karmayogi. Mission Karmayogi తెలుసు కదా? Mission Karmayogi. Now, Mission Karmayogi is a complete reform and civil services reforms in the recent years. Basically, it is capacity building of civil servants. In this, we have a thing called I Got Karmayogi platform. I Got Karmayogi platform. It will help civil servants in getting technical knowledge. It will be having best case studies. They can look at them easily whenever they arise with any doubts. And along with this, they will be having mid-career training. All these committees speak about mid-career trainings every 3 to 4 years. And they also talk about that we must get promotions based on work and not based on any experience. And they also say that generally now we are having appraisal and performance appraisal basically. Now performance appraisal will be done by our superiors. Now these committees generally suggest that performance appraisal should not happen in this vertical manner. It should become 360 degrees appraisal. A format must be created where all the stakeholders which that civil servant will be interacting, all of them should give their opinion about him. Then only any sort of suggestions, improvements can be taken. Now the problem with the present appraisal system is that now who will be evaluating him? His superior. Obviously, then what he will be doing? He will be doing good, or else he will be doing whatever his superior will be telling. Kada. So to correct this mismatch, all these committees talks about 360 degrees appraisal in the country. Okay. Quote these committees. Selective indecision. The latest GST Council meetings outcomes signal a capricious approach. Now, GST Council 55th GST Council meeting అయింది. 55th GST Council కదా? 55th GST Council meeting happened 3 days back. It created a lot of havoc because they imposed GST, differential GST rates on popcorn basically. Because of that, if it is sweet coated, that caramel coated popcorn, it will be having 18%. Just salt, it will be having, if salt and non-branded, it will be having 5%. Salt and packed, it will be having 12%. Right? That's why social media is telling that only thing not being taxed from now is air, which we are inhaling. Okay. Now, leaving aside all these things, and in exam they can't even ask the tax rates and all. You just need to know about the GST Council. And recent case related to GST Council parenti Mohit Minerals case. Vinnara idi Mohit Minerals case? See, is GST Council recommendations are binding on the states and the center? GST Council basically what it does, it decides the tax rates, right? So it decides the tax rates and it gives a final opinion of it, whether the GST Council recommendations are binding on the center and the states. మొత్తం అన్నిట్లోనే వాళ్ళు చెప్పిన రేట్స్ కదా ఉన్నాయి. Generally it is binding. But what happened is that Supreme Court in this Mohit Minerals case said that it is not binding upon the states. Now it created problem in our fiscal federal spirit, problem to our fiscal federalism. Okay. It created some legal loophole in the country. No one knows, but obviously states will be following. ఎందుకంటే దే వోంట్, ఈవెన్ ఇఫ్ దే ఆర్ నాట్ ఫాలోయింగ్, సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ విల్ నాట్ యాక్సెప్ట్, బికాస్ ద ఐడియా ఆఫ్ GST is that there should be single rate. Supreme Court gave this decision creating confusion in the country. Okay, in 2023 it had given this decision in Mohit Minerals case. Okay, ఎగ్జామ్లో బైండింగ్ అని అడగరు ఎందుకంటే అంతా కన్ఫ్యూజనే, బట్ ఇన్ మెయిన్స్ ఆన్సర్స్ యూ కెన్ కోట్ ఇట్ క్లియర్లీ. ఓకే, ఎన్విజనింగ్ ఇండియా యాజ్ ఎ గ్లోబల్ స్కిల్ సప్లయర్, పేజ్ నెంబర్ 8. ఫార్మర్ సుప్రీంకోర్టు జడ్జ్ నేమ్డ్ హ్యూమన్ రైట్స్ ప్యానల్ చీఫ్ ఎన్హెచ్ఆర్సీ చైర్మన్. ఎన్హెచ్ఆర్సీ అయింది కదా మీకు. హూ కుడ్ బికమ్ అ చైర్పర్సన్ ఆఫ్ ఎన్హెచ్ఆర్సీ? రిటైర్డ్ సుప్రీం కోర్ట్ చీఫ్ జస్టిస్, ఆర్ can a judge of the Supreme Court become NHRC chairman, retired, even before also? When did recent amendment to Protection of Human Rights Act happen? Protection of Human Rights Act came first in 1993 to implement the Paris principles which are related to human rights. India signed this Paris principle, that's why there is an mandatory thing on India to implement this act. So we had made this act. Now this has been amended in 2019. Now, before the stance is that chairperson should only be either retired or working Chief Justice of India, and there will be very less Chief Justices. It became very problematic for the country to find out who can become them, and because most of them are relatively old, many had died. So, there is no other option. That's why they had amended now to allow retired judges of the Supreme Court also to become a chairperson of NHRC. NHRC age limit and the 70 or maximum tenure ఇప్పుడు 3కి మార్చారు. అర్లియర్ ఇట్ యూస్ టు బి 5, నౌ ఇట్ ఈస్ చేంజ్ టు 3. ఓకే, ఇన్ 2019 అమెండ్మెంట్ తర్వాత 3కి మార్చారు. ఓకే, ఇంపార్టెంట్ అది, ఎందుకంటే రీసెంట్ అమెండ్మెంట్ జరిగింది కాబట్టి ఎగ్జామ్కి ఇంపార్టెంట్ అవుతుంది. ఈ 2019 అమెండ్మెంట్ చూడండి ఒకసారి. రిమైన్ ఇన్ టచ్ విత్ కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్ స్టిల్ సివిల్ సర్వీస్ ఆస్పిరెంట్స్ అంట. అక్కడ ఏంటంటే ఫార్చ్యూన్ ఐఏఎస్ అకాడమీ అండ్ హిందూ కండక్టెడ్ సమ్ వెబినార్. ఇన్ దట్ వెబినార్ దే ఆర్ టెలింగ్, వాళ్ళు చెప్పబోయినా అందరికీ తెలుసు కదా. అండ్ వీఆర్ డిస్కసింగ్ అబౌట్ కన్జ్యూమర్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ అథారిటీ, నో సమ్ మిస్లీడింగ్ యాడ్స్ అండ్ ఆల్. ఎస్టర్డే Shubhra IAS Academy has been fined 2 lakhs for giving misleading advertisement, like 9 members in top 100, 30 members in top 200 and all. Right, 2019 amendment అయిన తర్వాత స్పెక్ట్రమ్ అనేది బాగా పెరిగింది. నౌ గూడ్స్, సర్వీసెస్, everything will be coming under Consumer Protection Act. Okay, MFN not to hit India-EFTA pact. We discussed in our Saturday class about most favored nations and India-EFTA. EFTA contains which 4 states? What is the private arm of ISRO? Private arm of ISRO is New Space India Limited. 3 years back launched the New Space India Limited. It will be helping with linking all the private sector to the space sector. ఇది ఎందుకు ఇప్పుడు చెప్తున్నాను? EFTA 4 countries are New Space India Limited కదా, చెప్పండి. నార్వే, స్విట్జర్లాండ్, ఐర్లాండ్, లైచ్టెన్స్టైన్. ఓకే, నిమోనిక్ చెప్పాను భయ్య. ఇస్రోకి ప్రైవేట్ ఆర్మ్ న్యూ స్పేస్ ఇండియా లిమిటెడ్, NSIL. ఓకే, 4 countries in EFTA are their first letters are NSIL. ఓకే, అర్థమైందా? ఇస్రోస్ ప్రైవేట్ ఆర్మ్ అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ గవర్నమెంట్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్. Government had earlier space activities used to be restricted to ISRO only. Now what happened? Government had planned to increase the space activities. That's why it started collaborating with the private sector. In foreign contracts చేయడానికైనా, లోకల్ కాంట్రాక్ట్స్ చేయడానికైనా, there is another arm called Antrix. Both of these 2 are private arms of ISRO. One deals with the domestic private sector, one deals with the foreign private sector. Okay, for example, say one private company wants to launch any satellite for signals. Now these things will be the direct point of contact. Okay, and we are developing small satellite launch vehicles. NSIL is a point of contact for that also. Right, science and tech I know బాగా తెలుస్తానండి, అవన్నీ విల్ డిస్కస్ లేటర్.